Hi there, and welcome to episode 24 of the Sage Running Podcast. I got Sandi, Coach Sandi, on today, and we just want to do a quick, relatively short podcast, the New Year's Day, New Year's Eve special heading into 2019. Do a quick sponsor plug. Of course, we're drinking the Avery Planked. It's a bourbon barrel-aged, coconut-infused Imperial Coconut Porter aged in rum barrels. Avery, great sipping beer. Cheers.
Thanks, Avery.
And, of course, it is New Year's Eve here when we're recording this, but we will hope you a safe and happy holiday season. Launching into 2019, we thought we'd kick it off with some training advice and stuff you guys like to hear about. Also, stay tuned to subscribe on this podcast on iTunes, as well as you could watch these videos with audio on YouTube. And check out Coach Sandi's YouTube channel as well, Running Wild to Believe, Running Wild. Search her name on YouTube, you'll find a video. She's coming out with some more videos as well as some more plans and updates on sagerunning.com, our coaching website. So how you feeling going into the new year?
I feel great. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. But we want to give you advice heading into 2019 or any new year. And, you know, you can make New Year's resolutions on any day of the year, really, but it helps to start on January 1st. It's easier to keep track of your mileage totals, your training log, but kind of the idea for a lot of us in the northern hemisphere, we're launching into winter, and it's cold and snowy out here. I don't know where it is, how it is for you are, but during the holiday season, people are really busy. They maybe aren't doing a lot of races, especially mountain trail races. The season's it's considered the off season if you're in the northern hemisphere now, but people still need to stay in shape. You don't want to go, it's good to veg out for a while, eat a bunch of extra holiday sweets, something like that, take a break mentally and physically, but at the same time, you need to be maybe doing something, or you want to do something to stay sane mentally. In the off season, what should you do? And what we get that question a lot, so we could kind of talking about that.
Yeah, I'll just be clear here. I'm winging it. Coach Sage had this plan for a little bit, but I just got back from Ohio and like, let's do a podcast. And I said, sure. So not quite as prepared as normal. So I apologize for that, but hopefully I can wing it pretty well. We'll see.
Yeah. So the big thing, like coming off of a break, a planned break especially, is that you want to slowly get back into things because it's a ripe season, a ripe time for injury, really. If you go from no running to all of a sudden trying to get back to your normal volume, your normal weekly mileage, or your normal pace, you're going to be a little out of shape. And that's okay. That's okay. It's better to come back slowly, take your easy days easy, and slowly build up that volume and mileage, even if it's just a moderate amount, even if it's 15 miles a week, 20 miles a week. What is that in kilometers?
Yes,
30 kilometers a week, 32 kilometers a week, 35 kilometers a week. It's all kind of relative to what you've done in the past, but you're going just really easy aerobic pace, conversational pace before you start doing any speed or hard workouts or think about any serious races. But we will get into the idea, especially if you're a marathon runner, ultra marathon runner, of doing more of a speed season, 5K, 10K type of training.
Before we move on too much, I would like to add that if you want to jump up your mileage a lot right away, but you shouldn't, what I suggest for athletes to do is do the lesser mileage, but fill in that time you'd normally spend running more miles or kilometers with core work, strength training, maybe feet and ankle strength if you have any issues with your feet or lower leg issues. Just fill it with the other little things you should be working on but may have neglected when you're running higher mileage.
Yeah, like a popular thing for people in Colorado is to do more ski cross training in the winter. Maybe you ride a bike. Maybe you like to swim.
But I'm not even talking about that. Like me, I always do core work, but this time of year, especially in the base phase, I'm hitting heavy weights. And that's been found to help a lot, whether you're a sprinter or a distance runner. There is a very specific way to add that in for runners, but that's kind of another topic. I don't want to get too off topic.
When you say heavy weights, you're talking about like squats, doing some squats,
deadlifts, stuff like that.
in the gym. Yeah.
Yeah. I will add really quickly for runners, it's very heavy weights and normally between like 4 and 8 reps only, and maybe like 2 to 3 sets.
Okay.
And twice a week after maybe those speedier runs.
Yeah, so getting in the gym, addressing weaknesses, some, things like muscle balances crop up over time, just time spent training,
Now
but also...
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I don't want to be left out. Now's a good time to like have somebody film you running, take a look at your running form, see if there's any, as you were saying, muscle weaknesses, and we'll do another talk on this, but if you feel like you need to change your running form a little bit, you want to do it now when you're not getting close to a race, because it does take a while for your body to adapt.
And do things slowly and gradually too. Just make small little adjustments, small little changes. And as you get older too, you're spending more time sitting in the office or commuting or sitting around working on the holidays with poor posture, and that kind of could tighten up your hip flexors or throw off your back a bit. So it's better to ease into things and keep things.
That's a good point. One thing like I suggest some athletes do, start like stretching your hip flexors every day for like 1 minute, 2 minutes each side.
Yeah, so not neglecting these little things, staying on top of that, getting into a routine before you ramp up your mileage and get serious, focused, harder workouts going into a peak race. But it kind of all comes back to the idea of periodization in training, or changing your training over time. And, some of it's giving yourself a mental break, some of it's a physical break, some of it's the idea that you can't be racing at 100% all year long, year after year after year, month after month, because you'll burn out or get injured probably. So it's important that you address these little things and be diligent and develop this kind of routine that's really designed to keep you healthy. Because if you're not healthy, you're not able to run, you're not able to train consistently. If you can't train consistently, you're not going to be able to race very well or feel very good. So it all comes back to your health, improving yourself as an athlete, trying to be the best version of yourself, and slowly progressing and building on your training over time, and not forgetting what you did in the past, but also planning for the future. And that's kind of what comes back to our whole training plan ideas. And we got some free resources on our website, sagetraining.com, for the aerobic base building plan, as well as our pace intensity spectrum chart, women's beginner 50K plan. Yep. Those are free downloads on our website. We also have some plans that we sell, and specifically the 5K, 10K plan or half marathon plan. It might be a good idea to mix it up with some speed after you develop some aerobic base, some speedier training, faster pace running, to get ready for those longer marathons or ultra marathons or half marathons, if that's a long race for you, to change it up with 5K, 10K training in the off season.
Yeah, and I'm definitely practicing what we preach right now. My training already looks a little bit like I'm training for a 5K, and it will even more so the next month before I get into longer stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you were on the track the other week doing some pretty light stuff. Not like really lactic acid, heavy induced, puking on the rail type of track workouts yet. Or
no, but I would do like 100-meter sprints or
strides, hill sprints.
Yeah.
Working on some really fast speed. You don't want to pull muscle, but stimulating those fast twitch muscle fibers, opening up the stride. I was doing hill sprints the other day, and on Strava, I saw my stride rate got up to 230 steps a minute. So it's like you'd never race an ultra at 230 steps a minute, but when you're sprinting, you could get well over 200 steps a minute, and that's a good neuromuscular stimulus to focus on that power, that drive, that high knee lift, that high butt kick, running at pretty much all-out velocities. It's a neuromuscular coordination thing, so it stimulates these fast-twitch muscle fibers, all the muscle fibers in your leg, mind muscle body connection basically, and it makes your form at slower paces, ultra marathon race pace, marathon race pace, feel a lot smoother, and it helps iron out those little kinks in your form, as well as developing muscle power, explosive muscle power, which we rarely use as ultra runners. So it's kind of similar to what Sandi was saying about doing 100 meters or 200 meter repeats on the track pretty fast, but it's good to gradually work into these and to give yourself a pretty long recovery, because the idea is not to flood yourself with lactic acid. It's to run with good form.
Yeah. And I do feel like the faster stuff on the road or track helps me a lot in downhills during races and on the flats, but just being able to have that leg turnover on the downhill can help a lot. Although I would like to point out, if you're injury prone, you have to be careful with this. Now, some runners, we can give them like hill sprints or strides right off the bat. Other runners, if they're more injury prone, we can't do that. We have to build just an easy base mileage first, or maybe we would start with some slower, shorter speed workouts before we had the high intensity.
Yeah, the idea with periodizing your training or changing it over time is to gradually introduce things. So maybe you spend a couple weeks running pretty easy, slow pace mileage, you're building your mileage up, then you start doing 1 day a week where you're doing some faster stuff, but it's more at 80-90% top speed. And then after a couple more weeks, you could get up to the 95, closer to 100% top speed, because you don't want to pull a muscle. And if you haven't run really fast for a long time, it could really aggravate things. So you got to take care with the speed injection, so to speak. But it is about changing gears, and that variety that really adds the spice to your training, and it's more fun mentally, but it's also a really good physical stimulus. Even if you're a long distance runner, you need to run ultra marathons or marathons, to have that mix in your training, especially in the off season.
Yeah, I will bring up a quick point. If you're not used to it or just haven't done anything like that for a long time, the first couple of runs where you add these things in, it's probably going to feel awful. But if you keep at it for even just a week or two, it's going to be a lot easier to tap into that speed because your body's getting used to it, and your body's amazing and adapts pretty quickly. So don't worry if the first 1 or 2 sprint workouts feel like crap.
Yeah, and we always start off with what we call strides, a little more relaxed, 6 by 100 meters after an easy run. It's just meant to be easy stride outs, faster than 1,500 or mile race pace, way faster than 5K race pace even, but run with good form and gradually building on that and always touching on that speed before getting into the sprint workouts. But all of our plans, like the 5K, 10K, Sage running training plan, you're going to be doing a lot of these things, as well as then even getting into longer repeats, like 800-meter repeats, 1,000 repeats, doing tempo runs and things like that. But it's all kind of part of the well-rounded training program, is touching on that really high-end speed, especially in the off-season, doing stuff that you're not used to, as you transition several months later maybe into real marathon training or ultra-marathon training. But you're always doing maybe some strides still.
Yeah.
The other thing with health, and we could kind of transition here, is a big thing that we want to talk about. Besides getting sleep and doing the stretching and the strength training, injury prevention stuff, this is all kind of tied together, though, is your diet and nutrition. And not just while you're running, but actually mainly when you're not running. Every meal, every day. What we found works really well for us, as well as for a lot of our friends and families and athletes that we've coached, people we've interacted with, a lot of elite sponsored runners, is that a whole foods plant-based diet has been really good for recovery in terms of getting in a lot of nutrients, a lot of antioxidants that help reduce inflammation, but also just being able to not be super sore after a long run or a hard workout and be able to pile in high mileage week after week and recover from races quickly. So we could maybe touch on some basics of that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a vegan diet. I feel like the label vegan sometimes gets a certain stereotype or rap, but generally if you're eating a whole foods plant-based diet, it is a lot of plants, so it's very easy to be vegan. If it's a healthy vegan diet, it is a whole foods plant-based diet. It's not highly processed foods. You're getting a lot of whole foods, whole fruits and vegetables, and in your case you're eating whole grains like oats and rice mainly is the grain source. And by default that's almost usually pretty gluten-free as well. There's not, I mean, if you're celiac, you have to watch what your oat source is. But if you're eating whole oats and whole rice, it's not a lot of gluten in that.
Yeah, I don't really mean to be gluten-free, but most days I probably am just by default.
Yeah, and it's whole grains is where these carbohydrates are coming from, as well as the fruits and the vegetables. And, you're eating the rainbow. You're eating a lot of colors. You're getting in some legumes. It's really, protein's never a concern for us.
Yeah, last year I did do what I eat in the day, and I tracked everything on Chromometer, and I had double the protein that I needed easily. That's
a website source, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can check out her video on that on YouTube. I think it's a YouTube video. And Yeah, people always ask about the protein, and I just say I'm never worried about it. If you're eating enough calories and you're eating a well-balanced diet, you should never have to worry about protein. All essential amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein, can be found in plant sources. So the protein's not a concern. There's other things that are probably more of a concern. I'm not concerned about it, but that people probably don't think about, like vitamin B12 or maybe iron. And there's some individual variation between people in terms of how well you absorb certain things, like iron, for example. And then also differences between your genetic makeup and between genders, sexes, and iron absorption as well and retention. But it's definitely something you keep track of.
I know we'll touch a little bit more on this, but I know we won't get to everything. But I just want to mention we did do a whole podcast on plant-based eating. And if you go to our website, sagejourney.com, we do have a plant power page with tons of resources that can tell you more information. You can look at the research yourself and see what's right for you.
Yeah. I mean, basically in a nutshell, like you're eating a lot of antioxidants, and it's kind of the idea that you're going for nutrient density, right? How many vitamins and minerals can I get per calorie rather than how many calories can I just get per gram of food? So nutrient density, and fruits and vegetables just happen to have all these vitamins and nutrients and really great antioxidants, and you get hydrated, and it's just very invigorating.
Yeah, and the one thing that's great for most people about fruits and veggies is that they're also not very calorie dense, which I think is great coming off the holidays where you've been eating a lot. But some people, I've been thinking, a couple people who are talking to Ohio, they're like, oh, I need to go on diets now and stop eating. Like, no, you just need to replace all that Christmas or holiday food with fruits and veggies and eat the same volume, because as soon as you start reducing food, you're going to feel hungry, and maybe you can take it for a couple of days, but then you're going to start eating even more because you're so hungry. So instead of thinking, oh, I need to cut back on food, no, you just need to replace food with fruits and veggies. But I should mention here, like Sage definitely has a higher metabolism than me, and so he can eat a little differently. Or like if he, like I did, it probably wouldn't be enough calories for him. Sage can get away with eating more calorie dense foods or like breads, or you probably need more, maybe like more nuts and seeds and avocados than I do. And I eat those things too, but you can just eat it to a greater extent. And I'm bringing this up because some people will go on a plant-based diet and they're like, oh, I don't feel as good, or maybe they feel hungry, and it's maybe because you just need to eat more nuts and seeds, avocados, breads, pastas if you have a higher metabolism.
Generally portion size could be a lot bigger because the calories aren't as condensed. But for most Americans, at least, especially if you want to lose weight, you don't want high calorie density per gram of food. That's what you get in foods that are very fatty, though, is a lot of calories in a small amount, or in really sugary desserts. Or if I'm eating cinnamon rolls and vegan ice cream all the time, obviously that's not going to be a very healthy vegan diet. But it's also not very plant based or whole foods. It's highly processed. And with the processing, you're talking about having like globs of white flour. It's ground down flour, right? You've stripped of its fiber and a lot of its nutrients, or a lot of its fiber, I should say. Whereas the fiber is what fills you up a lot. You're eating a lot of legumes. You're eating giant salads. You're eating a lot of vegetables. That you're eating, you eat a couple of apples, like you start to feel kind of full because it's a lot of fiber, but it's good for you. And that's kind of the whole idea, is getting in the whole foods. And yeah, just mixing it up, eating the rainbow, and being conscious. You are eating a lot of protein in legume sources usually, but even a lot of fruits and vegetables have some amino acids in them, and your body can pull it over time. So
it's not even just some; it's all fruits and veggies have amino acids in them. Yeah, that might not be much, but there are some, and they do add up.
It's not a contest with how many grams of protein you could eat. So yeah, not worried about the protein factor, but for filling yourself up, that's kind of a strategy we've used. And like Sandy said, it's a difference in preference. It's also a difference because I'm a lot bigger than you, weigh a lot more than you. I'm also a guy versus a female.
Right.
And then there could be just some different genetic preferences as well. But I think overall it's pretty minor. If you're eating whole foods, you're eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, you're eating the rainbow, and you're getting in a variety of calories, it's generally going to be predominantly carbohydrate based. And not all carbs are created equal, of course. It's not eating a bunch of refined sugar necessarily, which is obviously not a health food.
Right.
Or highly processed desserts that have a lot of refined sugar, or a lot of refined oils in them, for example. But eating in carbohydrates from these whole grain sources and fruits and vegetables. And it's also going to be, if you're eating that diet, whole foods, plant-based, it's also going to be relatively low in fat. Obviously, you need some essential fatty acids, especially the omega-3s, but you really don't need that much, I don't think, in my opinion.
Right. Like
People are...
Like I definitely think athletes and you, especially women, like we do need some fats, but it's probably not as much as people think.
And as a marathon ultra runner, you don't need to eat fat to burn fat. You could teach your body to burn fat really efficiently as fuel, just because you have natural body fat stores. As long as you're not starving yourself, you're not anorexic, you should have enough body fat stores on you to naturally be able to burn them in a endurance race. So you're always burning glycogen, carbohydrates you ingest, as well as body fat on your body, even if you're pretty skinny, as energy, especially at submaximal efforts under 75, 80% maximum heart rate under the threshold, which is very advantageous, of course, in a marathon and ultra event. But yeah, I kind of digress here. So yeah, that's kind of our big couple tips for getting healthy in 2019, unless there's something you want to add.
Well, I want to bring up maybe what's the most important thing you touched on is going into 2019, wanting to be your best self, asking yourself what that actually looks like, and actually coming up with a plan on how to do that. I think most people like the idea of being their best self, but then they fall short of making a plan on how to do that. And, being your best self can look very different, especially if you even just think of running. It could be, all right, I'm going to take this easy run truly easy, but I'm going to notice all the beauty around me, even if it's a blizzard outside. You're just training your mind to focus on one good thing, or it could even be, running is a fickle sport. We have good races and bad races because that's just how running goes. Can you challenge yourself to handle a bad race with a good mindset and still be a fun person to hang out with after? Or are you going to go back to habits where you treat the people who helped you not very good because you had a bad race? Like, is that really being your best self in that moment? Or maybe it's just like planning your runs out a little bit better and then giving your significant other time to do their run as you watch the kids. So just, actually take the time to think about what the best version of yourself looks like. Not enough people actually take the time to do that.
Yeah, so some reflection, and it's good to keep a training log too, so you can reflect on what you physically did. But as you said, there's a big mental component. There's a big attitude component to this, and I think the idea is enjoying the process is progression. So you're improving. You're constantly trying to improve yourself, improve your health, improve your mental well-being. Be better than you were yesterday. Be better than you were last year, and that's
And what I always tell people is let running be a tool to make life outside of running better, but also use your life outside of running to make you even mentally stronger during your running.
Yeah.
So that means like if a challenge comes up during work, view it as a challenge to overcome and just to test your skill on not something that's just going to stress you out or be like, why is this happening to me? Your perspective is everything, and you can train that at all times, not just when you're running.
Exactly. Yeah, and it all comes back to health too. If you're running, you're eating healthy, you're getting enough sleep, you've got this work-life balance, family balance, and you're trying to improve yourself, then you're just going to be a lot more happy. You're going to be feeling good. When you feel good, you treat others with a lot of kindness and generosity. Try to help people that are less fortunate as well. and try to do the best with your time here and capitalize on that for sure.
Yeah, and I think kindness is a big thing, especially to yourself on the good days and bad days, or when you're doing speed workouts. Like, learn to be your own cheerleader, and then maybe you can bring that over to other people in your life. And also, like, reflecting on goals, think about why your goals are meaningful to you, or why are they important enough where it could be crappy weather outside and you're still going to get out and run and do your workout.
Yeah, little victories, little battles each day.
Yeah.
We always recommend setting a big series of goals. So, yeah, maybe one goal is to finish a marathon or to qualify for Boston, qualify for, get in a lottery. That might be out of your control. Finish a 100-mile, finish an ultra, finish a half marathon. But then other goals might be to average a certain monthly volume, or to hit a certain mileage per week, or to finally do a half marathon or a 13-mile long run.
Like, have your running goals like physical and mental, both sides. Like, what do you want to achieve? I kind of hate breaking the two up, but like, what do you want to achieve mentally? What do you want to achieve physically during your upcoming training block?
Yeah, but goals are all part of the process, and setting little milestones along the way. But like you said, if it's crappy weather out and it's cold, one victory is just getting out for a run, even if it's a short run, instead of just packing it in and be like, oh, it's kind of cold and windy out. Maybe I don't want to run today.
Yeah, or if you're the type of person, if you've skipped runs in the past for whatever reason, but you kind of know they're not very good reasons, think about how you can change that. Like, do you need to ask a friend or family member to hold you accountable, or do you need a little note reminding yourself of how you want to be thinking that day? Like, I have notes to myself, like, even as you're going back, like, what's the best version of yourself look like today? Like, maybe you need that note, like, right on your mirror or something to start off your day.
Excellent stuff. Good stuff. I think about ready to wrap up this shorter episode. We will be doing some more in-depth, longer podcasts with some different focus, as well as having some guests on the show eventually, and definitely more YouTube videos coming your way on both of our channels, VO2 Max Productions here, which you're probably watching, as well as Sandy's channel, Running Wild to Believe.
It's just Running Wild. It's just that you have to type in Running Wild to believe.
If you search her name, Sandi Nypaver, on YouTube, you'll find her channel.
It's really just Running Wild.
It's titled Running Wild.
Yeah.
I think the official URL is hashtag Running Wild to Believe with a number 2. But you're coming out with new videos, new content. Great
I'm
stuff.
trying.
Yeah, Sandy's been picking up some more creative energy for her YouTube channel, as well as our coaching website, sagerunning.com, for those free resources, blog posts, podcasts, things you could subscribe to. So thank you so much for your support.
I'm sorry. I really don't mean to make this longer, but we do have new plans coming out in 2019. So look at that.
And you can follow Sandi on Instagram at Sandi Nypaver.
Follow Sage.
At Sage Canaday on Instagram, as well as Twitter. But anyway, yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hope your 2019 is off to a great start. And we really appreciate all your support. Thanks to Patreon supporters for this new audio gear. And wishing you all the best in health and wellness and your fitness goals in 2019.
Yeah, Happy New Year. We really appreciate you watching this or listening to us.
Yep, Happy New Year, and stay tuned for more.